All right, today we are diving into one of the heaviest, most high-stakes decisions a leader can possibly make, launching a military strike. But we're not talking about retaliation. We're talking about acting first to stop an attack before it can even happen. We're going to break down the intelligence, the insane risks, and why it's called the ultimate gamble.
I mean, just think about that for a second. What if you had information, a strong feeling, that something terrible was about to unfold? Do you wait to be proven right, or do you act now and hope you can prevent it?
And right there, that's the core of it. That is the promise that pulls leaders in and the peril that gives them sleepless nights. It's a strategy that lives on a razor's edge between self-defense and pure aggression.
Now, the one word you have to lock onto here is imminent. This isn't about some potential threat 5 or 10 years down the road. A true preemptive strike is a response to a danger that is so close, so real, that the window to do anything else is believed to be slamming shut.
But that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? How can you really be sure? The famous military thinker Karl von Clausewitz had a name for this. He called it the fog of war, that thick haze of uncertainty that always surrounds an enemy's true strength, the real intentions and their timeline. Any decision to strike first has to somehow pierce through that fog. So, let's get into the justification. Why on earth would any country take the incredible risk of throwing the first punch?
Well, it all circles back to this idea of an imminent threat. And you got to understand, this isn't just military jargon. It's a legal and ethical line in the sand. It's what separates what can be argued as self-defense from what the rest of the world will see as an unprovoked attack. Proving that threat is imminent is everything.
And this is where we have to be super clear about the difference between two terms people often mix up. A preemptive strike, again, is about stopping an attack that you believe is about to launch. A preventative war, on the other hand, is about stopping a threat that might become dangerous years from now. That distinction is the whole ballgame, legally and strategically.
This quote really nails the mindset. You see, the paradox is that striking first is often a deeply risk-averse calculation. It comes from this terrifying belief that if you wait for 100% certainty, you've waited too long, and it's already too late.
Okay, so if your job is to see through this fog of war, what tools do you even have? Well, that leads us right into the shadowy world of intelligence gathering. This is the toolkit designed for one purpose: piercing the fog.
Think of it like you're a detective on the biggest case imaginable. You've got your HUMINT, or human intelligence. That's your spies on the ground, your sources. You've got SIGINT, signals intelligence, listening in on communications. There's IMMINT, imagery, the pictures from satellites and drones. MASSINT, which analyzes things like chemical traces in the air. And even OSINT, open source intel, which is just combing through publicly available data. The key is, no single one of these tells the whole story. You need to weave them all together.
But here's the thing. All those clues, the satellite photos, the intercepted calls, the whispers from a source, that's just raw data. It's like being handed a mountain of puzzle pieces, but with no picture on the box to show you what you're building.
So this brings us to the next, and maybe the hardest part of the whole process: actually connecting those dots. How do you turn a sea of raw data into something a president or a prime minister can actually act on?
It happens through what's called the intelligence cycle. First, you collect all that info we just talked about. Then you process and fuse it. You lay all the puzzle pieces on the table to see which ones fit and which ones contradict each other. That's when analysts step in to assess what it all means, trying to figure out not just what the enemy can do, but what they intend to do. And only then is that final, refined assessment given to the decision makers. It's basically a giant funnel designed to turn all that noise into a clear signal.
And today, that whole process is getting supercharged. You've got AI algorithms hunting for patterns that a human eye might miss. Analysts use what are called structured analytic techniques, which are designed to fight against our own natural biases. And they even use something called red teaming, where they literally assign a team to be the devil's advocate. Their only job is to try and tear the main theory apart to see if it holds up.
But here's the sobering truth. Even with all of those tools, all of that brainpower, you can still get it wrong. And when the stakes are this high, the price of being wrong is absolutely catastrophic.
Just look at the Yom Kippur War in 1973. Israeli intelligence had so many signs that Egypt and Syria were about to attack. They saw the troop movements, they heard the chatter, but the consensus, the main theory, was that it was all a big bluff. They failed to correctly read the intent. And the result was a devastating surprise attack that led to massive casualties. It's just a brutal lesson in the cost of getting it wrong.
So let's make this real for today.
An analyst gets this satellite photo. It's a new building way out in the middle of nowhere in a hostile country. So what are you looking at? Is it a harmless fertilizer plant? Or is it the start of a secret program to build a weapon of mass destruction? The photo alone can't tell you.
And this is where the whole toolkit has to come together. Your SIGINT team might pick up phone calls talking about special materials. Your HUMINT team might have a source on the inside who confirms, yes, this is a secret weapons program. And your MASINT sensors might fly by and detect the faint chemical signatures of nuclear enrichment in the air. It's only when you fuse all of those pieces that you go from a vague suspicion to a high-confidence assessment.
But, and this is a huge but, even if your intelligence is rock solid, the decision to act is still a minefield. It creates what you could call a triple dilemma, with huge risks in 3 different areas.
First, there's the ethical dilemma. If you're wrong, you've started a war based on a mistake. The burden of that is immense. Then there's the legal hurdle. The UN Charter basically forbids attacking another country, so a preemptive strike lives in a very, very gray area. And finally, the strategic danger. The very act of striking first could be the thing that sparks the massive war you were trying to prevent in the first place.
And that, right there, is the strategic paradox at the heart of all this. The action you take to make yourself more secure could be the very thing that the rest of the world sees as naked aggression, making you far less secure in the long run. It's a true double-edged sword.
Because after all the spies, all the satellites, all the analysis, all the debates, the decision finally lands on the shoulders of a very small group of people. And sometimes it comes down to just one.
And that's really the key takeaway here. The best intelligence in the world can light up the path ahead. It can narrow the odds, but it can never, ever completely eliminate the uncertainty.
Which leaves us and every leader who faces this with that one final unanswerable question. When you're staring down a potential catastrophe and all you have to guide you is an imperfect glimpse into the future, how much certainty is enough?